Welcome back, everybody, to It's Called Football. Jackson and I took a week off from recording because of Thanksgiving. So, Jackson, hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Sounds like we both did similar things, sit on the couch all day watching football and basketball. Hard to beat that. But how are you doing on this Thursday ahead of pretty eventful next week and a half of Premier League action?
I'm great because I'm towards the end of the semester here. So wrapping stuff up. I had my final pre-exam exams today.
Okay.
So hopefully, we can coast on to the finish now.
Hey, almost there. When do you go on winter break? Like, when are you done with finals?
When am I going on? I think December 13th because I think my
Oh,
last one was the 12th. Yeah.
oh. So, yeah, not too much longer. Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks and I'm back home.
And fortunately, I will say there's a lot of Premier League action in this next 2 weeks. Obviously, we had Champions League, Europa League. We might touch on that if we have time. But Premier League, not only this upcoming weekend, but midweek as well. And then obviously next weekend, which we will touch on next episode. But starting it off, matches this past weekend. And there was a big one at the top of the table. Man City taking on Liverpool. And Alexander Arnold saved a point for the away team in Liverpool. Holland got Man City off to the lead 1-0 in the 27th minute, but it was Alexander Arnold that drew him level in the 80th. What did you think of that match? Were you surprised it ended as a draw?
I am. I thought City was going to take it. And it looked like they were for a little bit there. But, yeah, I mean, fair play Alexander Arnold because he was kind of getting cooked for most of that game by Doku, like getting absolutely torched on that right side of the Liverpool defense. So for him to get the goal of all people, a little bit of a redemption arc for him during that little game. Huge point for them, though. I mean, Liverpool, like, I think we mentioned it like in one of the previous episodes, have been like kind of flying under the radar, but they have actually performed so well this year. And tying City at City, that's huge. Like, that's actually massive. So, like, fair play to them. I think City deserved to win. They had more chances, more possession. They had the lead. But at the end of the day, all that matters is the final score. And Trent did he did his job and they got the point. So fair play to Liverpool.
Yeah, very much so. And it means Liverpool's still a point back of Man City in the table, second and third, respectively, 29 and 28. But it just shows that this Liverpool team finds ways to get results and avoid losing, which at the end of the day, doesn't matter if it's 1 point, 3 points, they're going to add up towards the end of the season as long as you're not losing out on points. To me, it feels like this was kind of like you said, a steal for Liverpool. They were outplayed for the most part, 61% possession for Man City compared to the 39 of Liverpool. So that alone was like, Man City obviously always has more of the ball with Pep. It just seemed like one of those things that Holland got the goal relatively early. It seemed like they were going to be able to get it done, but a lot of substitutions made by Liverpool, especially early on in that second half, bringing on Luis Diaz, taking off Curtis Jones, bringing on Ryan Gravenberch, who don't think he played extremely well, but I mean, hey, they're finding ways to get it done. And sure enough, big point for Liverpool. Do you think Liverpool has a chance to finish ahead of Man City now in the table? Obviously, it's 1 point, but this was one of those big confidence boosters where they hadn't beaten Pep in the Etihad in, I think, a long, long, long time,
Yeah.
at least in the
Yeah.
Premier League.
Um it's possible, but I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah.
Like they're showing that they can uh earn results when they need to in tough circumstances, whether they're down down a goal or just no matter what it is, they found ways to get results when they need to.
Mhm.
I don't think they're gonna have enough to beat City though towards the end of the year because City's just so solid across the board. Now, like think about this. This like we're talking about this being a huge game for Liverpool, right? A
Oh,
1-1
yeah.
draw. For City, this feels like a loss. That's the difference here. That's why City's going to ultimately finish ahead of them because they're just a better team across the board. And they have this certain expectation that they're going to go in and win every single game. So when it doesn't happen, we all freak out and we're like, oh, City's in trouble, and look at this, Liverpool's on the rise. Don't get me wrong, Liverpool's going to finish high up for sure. They've proven that this year with how they're performing. But I just think City's just too good across the board. It's going to take another key player getting hurt for a while, like a Rodrigo absence for a while, I think, for Liverpool to hop over them. Because I think there's just a talent gap between the two of them at the moment. I think Liverpool's outperforming what most people thought they'd be doing at this point in the season, and City's a little underperforming. So I think over time you're going to see that kind of correct itself, and City finish ultimately ahead of Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think at the end of the day, as we've seen in seasons past, Man City is just much more of a second half of the season team than they are necessarily the first half. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they kind of blow away from the rest of the competition at some point. It is still they're second behind Arsenal with 1 point. Touch on Arsenal in a bit later, but still seems like it's Man City's one to lose to an extent. Liverpool, I think, is still that second best team that can maybe get something done against them. Do you want to move on to another team that's had quite a last 3 Premier League matches? Chelsea took on Newcastle after a 4-4 draw with Man City. That was kind of the game of the season, arguably. They laid a goose egg big time in Newcastle. 13 minutes in, Alexander Isak gets a goal. Raheem Sterling continues to be one of the hottest players in the Premier League. Now has at least a goal or an assist in his last 4 matches. He leveled it up, but the second half was all Newcastle, ran away with a 4-1 win. Chelsea looked not great, and they get Reece James sent off. It seemed like then nothing was going their way.
Well, they looked decent in the first half, I'm not going to lie. Apart from the first goal, which Cucurella needs to step up quicker. I don't know what he was doing, but he needs to step up quicker because that allowed Isak to just stand there, get the ball, and finish it easily. That Sterling free kick was a thing of beauty. I think Nick Pope honestly maybe could have saved that. I feel like he could have at least made an attempt, but it's hard with the wall and the movement. So at the end of the day, great free kick from Sterling. But in the second half, I don't even know what happened. Like they looked miserable. Obviously, great ball in from Anthony Gordon to Lascelles for the header, but he's completely unmarked. No one's even there. So that's mistake one. And then you have Thiago Silva, your captain, your experienced leader, tripping on the ball in an inexplicable way. That just allowed Joe Linton to grab it and smash it home. So when you see that happen, you're like, all right, this is that day. Because when Thiago Silva is making mistakes like that,
something's going wrong.
How are you going to win? That just means something's off. Then right after that, Reece James gets the dumbest second yellow you could ever get, gets the ball to his chest, decides to flick the ball backwards over a Newcastle player, proceeds to grab him down. I think it was Anthony Gordon, grabbed him down, gets a second yellow, red card, and then obviously the final goal. Great. I mean, pretty good finish, but it was just way too easy for Newcastle. Chelsea completely fell apart. And we've seen them fall apart in second halves throughout the season. Obviously, they're beating Arsenal 2-0, and suddenly a mistake from Robert Sanchez and a few other moments allowed Arsenal to equalize. So I know they've got some players out, but this is terrible, man. It's terrible. Looking at the game, it is actually terrible because everything that could have gone wrong in the second half went wrong.
And it really was that 3-minute stretch of Sterling gets a foul. He gets shown a yellow card in the 59th. Sets up that free kick that Lascelles scores off that great Anthony Gordon assist. And then the Thiago Silva mistake comes a minute later.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-minute stretch of yellow card and then back-to-back goals. It really, at that moment, you're like, yep, this is done for. Chelsea made some subs. It just seemed like it wasn't any of the guys that you really needed to kind of it didn't give me any confidence if I was to be a Chelsea supporter of the guys coming off the bench are going to suddenly turn around a 3-1 deficit. And sure enough, the Reece James yellow, absolutely idiotic. But
yeah, I mean, the way you got the first one too for kicking the ball away, and then doing that, literally one of the dumbest 2 yellow card, red cards you could ever have.
Yeah, I mean, at the Premier League level, you have to be much more disciplined and know that you do something stupid like that, you're going to get a yellow.
Yeah.
Just a boneheaded mistake, and I think that kind of led into Anthony Gordon's goal, mostly because there's not 10 men against 11.
Yeah.
Little advantage, but still. Good win for Newcastle. Chelsea still just don't seem like a top 10 side. They seem like they're going to hang right around that 9 to 12 area, I would say.
I mean, this is what I know I thought and a lot of people thought would happen to Chelsea this year. With Pochettino, you're still dealing with the fallout of all the crap that hit the fan the previous season. But it just feels like you can't figure this team out because suddenly you go from 3-3 with City to getting absolutely shelled 4-1.
Yeah.
Like, there's no in between with them. It's either you're on it and you look really good, or you just look abysmal.
But I
And
mean,
that's the story of the year so far for them.
you look at their last 4 Premier League matches. You go to Tottenham, win 4-1 in one of the biggest shocks of the season thus far. Absolutely dominant. Play Man City, you're up 2-1, give up an unfortunate one right before the end of the first half. Ultimately finishes 4-all. You think those are 2 great results.
Yeah.
If you were to tell any team sitting in that 9, 10, 11 range that you're going to beat Tottenham away and then draw with Man City, you would think they have the most confidence you could possibly have going into this Newcastle one. Just didn't show at all. It seemed like that international break really slowed them down and really hurt them to an extent.
Which can happen at times because players go away, different styles, different managers, and then they come back and you got to not like learn it all over again, but you got to readjust back in. And it looks like the hangover from the international break killed them, especially on the defensive end.
Oh, yeah. I mean, giving up 4 goals against any team is not great. Newcastle does have the potential to be a very dangerous attacking side. But as we've mentioned time and time out, they're still without Callum Wilson. Harvey Barnes is out. Taggart. Obviously, Sandro Tonali's out for the rest of the season. Dan Burn. This injury list and I guess suspension in terms of Tonali is absurd for Newcastle. You wouldn't be expecting them to really put up 4 goals against a team that has some pretty talented defenders.
Now, it was Badia, Badia Shields' first Premier League start. So
yeah.
But why start him now? You have Disasi who's played games. What has maybe training? Not impressed with how Disasi's played previously. I don't know. But you play him in this game, and all I know is the back line looked completely shambolic. Yep. So, I don't know.
Tough one for Chelsea, but gonna move on to probably, I guess on paper it's an upset, but it really doesn't seem like it's that far-fetched anymore. Aston Villa took on Tottenham and ultimately won 2-1. So they were able to jump Tottenham and go into 4th place in that last Champions League spot. What a great win for Villa, though. I mean, going to Tottenham, giving up a goal early, got saved by that Pau Torres one in the 45 plus 7th minute. So 7 minutes of stoppage time in that first half. Get Ollie Watkins in the second, and really Ollie Watkins should have had one in the first, but VAR ruled it out for offside.
Yeah, and that was like a minute after the Lo Celso goal as well, which, by the way, Lo Celso's goal,
very nice.
Beautiful. Thing of beauty. But, yeah, I mean, we were talking last week, and we're like, is Aston Villa actually legit? Because they've been, kind of just sitting back there 3 points off of everyone else, quietly. Because you look at the top of the table, all right, you have City, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Liverpool right now. Then in 5th place, you had Villa just kind of sitting there. And you're like, look, there they are. But we don't think they'd actually be able to hang. But they go on the road to Tottenham and win 2-1. That's a huge win, not just for points, but for confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Now we can hang with these guys. We can beat the big boys. Why can't we make Champions League? Why can't we maybe push for the league?
Exactly.
It's still far-fetched, but they have that capability.
Yeah. And I mean, they're doing it in the Europa League or Conference League as well. They're 3 points clear after beating Legia Warsaw today, because today is Thursday while we were recording this. But it's just seems like my biggest question going into this was kind of what you're saying. Tottenham hadn't played any of the top dogs yet. This was their first real test, and they passed it with absolutely flying colors to give. If you're an Aston Villa fan, you should be very happy and very confident in your team at the moment because they have looked good, even while being outplayed this time. Tottenham 62% possession, 8 shots on target to Aston Villa's 5. It seemed like everything could have gone Tottenham's way, but it just didn't. And Villa stepped up. We've said time and time again, they are a fun team. And Ollie Watkins has just been superb this season as well, consistently finding ways to score. He's 7 goals in 13 matches, one of the highest in the Premier League. This is what happens when you have a true striker that's putting away top chances. Douglas Luiz has been playing well. Getting a goal from your center back, I'm sure you can attest to, is always a confidence booster for any defender.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say this, Tottenham did get unlucky
Mhm.
because Kulusevski hit the post to start out the game with. Should have been 1-0 up there. And then Son scored not 1, not 2, but 3 offside goals. A hat trick of offside goals. I mean, that's like unheard of. I
Oh,
can't think of the last time I've ever seen someone score a hat trick of offside goals. Like, so it's not even like they were like playing poor. I don't know, man. It just recently it feels like things haven't been bouncing their way. The red card situations, injuries. When you look at their back line, they were missing Romero and Van de Ven,
Mhm.
both of them out. So you had who was it, Davies and Emerson.
Yeah,
Emerson was right back, by
yeah.
the way.
Their
Outside.
back four was Pedro Porro on the right, Anderson Royale, Ben Davies in the middle, and Udogi on the left.
And Davies is a left back and can play like a left-sided center back in a back three, but he's not a true center back. So you had that going on, and you still scored 3 goals that were called back. So like, I don't want to sit here and be like, "Oh, Tottenham, they're in shambles right now. What's going on?" They're not picking up results, but it just feels very fluky that they're not picking up the results.
And
Yeah, I
that
don't know.
was going to be my next question for you. Is that's 3 straight losses for Tottenham in the Premier League. Lost 4-1 to Chelsea, 2-1 to Wolves, and 2-1 to Aston Villa. Are you concerned? Do you think it is time to worry? You said you're not overly concerned. You think this is more fluky than anything, but
Yeah.
you have to have some luck in the Premier League, especially to finish in the Champions League spot. And it just seems like the luck is not in their favor at the moment.
Yeah.
Unbeaten until these last 3 and not looking good for them at the moment.
And while you can sit here like I just did and defend them and say they got unlucky, the reality is it doesn't matter how you play. In the Premier League, all that matters is points.
Yeah.
And if you're not picking up the points, even if you're playing well, then you're not actually doing your job. All right, this isn't like college basketball. You can get quality wins and performances, or like college football.
Yeah.
You can try to sway the committee. There's no committee. There's no one looking at how you play. The only thing that matters are points.
Yep.
The more points you get, the more money you get, the better competitions you qualify for. And if you're lucky enough, you get to compete for the league title. Tottenham should be competing for the league title with how they've been playing. They need things to go their way, though.
They do indeed. And we'll get into their match this upcoming weekend, but we'll just say it's going to be a very tough one for them. Have quite an uphill battle. Could be 4 straight losses. We'll get into that one in a little bit. I will say, as much as it hurts me to say, goal of the week and probably goal of the season came in that Man United Everton match. Everton ultimately lost 3-0, but 3 minutes in, Garnacho. Oh my goodness. If you haven't watched his bicycle kick goal, go back and watch it. Goal of the year. Given the Puskas now, it doesn't matter. It was sensational.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the rest of this match? Or that goal? We'll talk on that goal. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I was going to say we can't leave without talking about that. Because when you think about the best bicycle kicks of all time, Wayne Rooney's against Manchester City, Gareth Bale's in the Champions League final, Ronaldo's against Juve, Zlatan against Sweden, or sorry, against England, sorry. This has got to be up there. I mean, the distance it was, how high the ball was, and where he placed it, that might honestly be one of the best bicycle kicks I've seen in my life.
Yeah, and he just seemed like he just rose up in perfect strike. You couldn't hit it any better than that. Top bins, nothing anybody probably anyone in the world at the moment could do anything about it. It was absolutely sensational. Where do you rank it amongst those? Do you think it's better than some of those? Because my only thing is this is against my only knock on it. Obviously, was like the settings of it.
Yeah,
Rooney's against Man City in a rivalry match. Bale and Ronaldo's both came in the Champions League. This was a great goal, but I think those ones kind of have him. Zlatan's was insane just because how far it was, but no knocking on it. This is one of the best goals we've both seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, context does matter. Gareth Bale scoring his in the Champions League final to put Real Madrid up 2-1 against Liverpool.
Yep.
Probably a little bit bigger,
Just a wee bit.
than 1-0 up against Everton. But, I mean, still, when you look at the sheer quality involved, it was, I mean, hate Man U with a passion. I think most non-Man U fans do.
No.
But that's one you just got to stand up and applaud. And, I mean, because come on.
You respect game.
Yeah, that's unreal.
I will say a little disappointing for Man U this past week in the Champions League, however. Did finish that one 3-0. Rashford had a penalty. Anthony Martial scored, who I can't remember the last time he scored a goal for Man U. It seems like it's been forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
But they got that done and then drew with Galatasaray after being 3-1 up in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Brutal scenes.
Yeah.
And it just seems like such a different team when they're playing in the Premier League because they've been on a tear as of late compared to their Champions League side of things. It's just been extremely disappointing.
Yeah, they're in trouble too.
Yeah.
Their last game is against Bayern, and they're in last place in the group. They're not even in trouble for not qualifying for the next round. They're in trouble of just not playing European football in the spring because Copenhagen and Galatasaray are ahead of them on 1 point. So if they don't pick up a point against Bayern, they're not playing in the spring, which maybe that'll actually help with the Premier League. That seems to be where they're doing their best anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, man, if you told me that they'd finish behind both Copenhagen and Galatasaray, I mean, I predicted Galatasaray would go through over them. I 100% believed that from the start. I didn't think Copenhagen. I thought it'd be a race between Man U and Galatasaray.
Yeah.
Copenhagen, to give them all the credit in the world in that group, I mean, they've been superb. Galatasaray as well, but Man U, man, it's shocking that they're not doing better in that group because it's not that hard of a group compared to other groups.
No, it's really not. But I mean, like you go out, see Copenhagen drew 0-0 with Bayern Munich. It was like Bayern's first time being shut out at home in the Champions League in 29 matches or something.
Yeah.
This is a tough Copenhagen team. Man U was lucky to beat them when they did because there was that penalty save at the very end by Onana. And oh my God, what a howler he had against Galatasaray. Some days he's very, very good, but more often than not, we'll see stuff like this, and that was just abysmal.
And it was interesting because he looked so good in the Everton game. I don't know if you saw his save on the Idrissa Gana Gay shot. It was a superb save. It was going top ends. But then go out and do that midweek. Like, he's not been consistent, or he actually has been consistent in the way that he has been letting in awful goals at least one every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, and we all know he has the ability to be a top-class goalkeeper. He shows flashes of it, but he's just not there mentally. He's not there form-wise. He's been very disappointing since moving because he was so good last year for Inter Milan. This year, no.
No, I mean, got to give him some credit. Like this Man U defense doesn't seem as good as Inter Milan, especially when you're leaving Varane on the bench, which everything I see on Twitter and everyone I've spoken to is like, I don't know why you leave Varane on the bench unless something's really seriously wrong.
Which it sounds like it is.
But Casemiro hasn't been playing. Don't know. I can't remember if that's injury. So, but it's just not great. Obviously, getting the 3-0 win back to the Premier League on Everton was big. But I do want to talk on Everton because we haven't had the chance to speak about the news that came out in the last week or so because we missed out or we didn't do our episode last week. But Everton were handed a 10-point deduction for financial fair play. Do you agree with the 10-point deduction?
I mean, you have to deter in some way or another, you know? So I actually don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
As long as City is treated the same way.
Yeah.
You set the precedent with Everton. Like, it's disappointing, whatever, but, I mean, they did technically break the rules. I don't think 10 points is even that bad of a deal. No. Especially with the way the relegation fight looks this year, easily can climb out of it with just 2 good results. So it's not like a catastrophic, game-changing thing. But it's got to be applied to City too. That's my only thought. Obviously, City's trial is going to be next fall. And nothing's going to actually happen until Pep's gone, which, crazy how that works, but they have to treat it the same way and dish out the same kind of form of punishment, or else justice hasn't really been served. But in terms of the actual 10-point deduction in itself, yeah, it's harsh, but you broke the rules, and if this is what we decide to do, it's really not that bad, and it's early enough. It's not like last year when Juve's point deduction came with 1 game to go, and suddenly they're out of all European competitions. Like, at least this was determined,
Yeah,
at
it's
this point in the year. Yeah, so you have
we're not even halfway through the season yet. There's still so much time left.
and you have the January transfer window, so, like, you have all kinds of time to figure it out. And again, with the way the relegation picture is looking, it's not the end of the world, especially because Everton looked good up until the point deduction. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you don't like seeing that happen because you like seeing points being earned on merit. But the reality is you need to create some form of a deterrent. I don't think 10 points is that bad of a deal. And when it's coming this early on, I've got no qualms with it.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, Everton fall to 4 points, 19th in the table, only ahead of Burnley on goal difference. But I still feel confident that they'll find a way to get ahead of Sheffield United, Luton, maybe even Bournemouth as well. So I don't be too bad, especially with how DCL has been playing more or less so recently. He's been actually scoring, big difference. But it is curious because they had 1 violation. They got docked 10 points. Man City have 115 of the same violations. My thinking, at least, is you're not just going to take away all those points, whatever. I think if they are going to get punished, they will have to be relegated. Similar to what we saw with Juventus in the early 2000s, or I think Glasgow Rangers as well, where they were relegated, not just one, but multiple divisions. I just think there's too much money involved in Man City, and with the sponsorships and with TV rights, if them and Chelsea's involved in this as well. If the two of them were to be relegated to League One, the money for the Premier League would drop immensely.
Yeah, because who you're going to bring up? You bring up Norwich. Norwich isn't going to bring in the same kind of revenue for you. No. There's so many fake City fans out there now too. Yep. Who have been fans since the Aguero goal. Who, you'd lose that viewership. But I agree. Money talks. You're probably not going to see that, but that's how it should be. It's how it should be to maintain a form of fairness in the game. You got to enforce the rules. 115 violations. There's no way that they're innocent of all 115 allegations. Yeah. No, but I have a feeling they're going to Deshaun Watson their way out of this, and they're going to be totally fine.
Most likely. But God, could you imagine the scenes of Man City having to play an away day at like Fleetwood Town or
Argyle,
Plymouth, Plymouth's in the championship at the moment.
Oh yeah, they're actually doing well, aren't they? Too
like Shrewsbury Town, or to make it even better, the more extreme, they get relegated to League Two.
Hulu
would love it. Wrexham taking on Man City, Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland playing in League Two. How many goals do you think Haaland would score in League Two? Do you think he reached the 90 mark in 40 matches or so? No, what are they?
Yeah, he would. But dude, it wouldn't even be okay. Obviously, he wouldn't stay if they went to League Two. He'd be out of there so fast. But if he did, crap, because the amount he scores in the Premier League, I don't know. Maybe the physicality would get to him. Maybe those physical defenders would actually be able to lock him up. If he's not in service.
They would just come in studs up high and
you're getting hit all game. Maybe that's it. Shout out to Wrexham though. They might not even be in League Two next year, let alone in 2 years. So.
Yeah, they're really playing surprisingly well. Up in second place in League Two, 37 points, 5 back of Stockport County. But it's interesting, the whole points deduction and everything. I feel like it's only right if there's some form of punishment for Man City and Chelsea. Like I said, I realistically don't think anything's going to happen.
No.
There's nothing worth what 115 breaches are. If anything, it's going to be, you're going to get a fine.
Okay. Maybe like a 10-point deduction.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That could change them from maybe not winning the title, but
for 1 year.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, this isn't punishment. You get to keep all the other crap you do.
No,
You
and
still
like
get to play in the Champions League. Like,
Chelsea's stuff was over a 7-year period. They
mhm.
get punished for just one season by losing 10 points. That's
Are you
kind of
kidding?
not even.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough of that talk. Moving on to our match of the weekend. Before we get into it, Jackson, I think we're going to do a little bit of both because there's obviously Saturday, Sunday matches for this upcoming match week, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Mhm.
We'll touch on a bit of both, but I think it's safe to say the match of the whole weekend, Tottenham and Man City.
Mhm.
At the Etihad, Tottenham having lost 3 straight, as we said, Man City continuing their kind of getting back to winning ways, actually. They beat RB Leipzig 3-2 in the Champions League on Wednesday. Following 2 straight draws in the Premier League, though, with Chelsea and Liverpool, do you think City turns it around, or do you think Tottenham turns it around?
City.
City.
Yeah, and I feel bad because, again, it's not even like Tottenham's been playing poorly, but it's just at City. City has not been doing well in the Premier League recently, but they have a huge momentum boost because they were down 2-0 to Leipzig and then came back and won 3-2. That's going to carry them through, I think. I think they win by a couple goals. I do think Tottenham gets one, and I hope it's Son because he deserves one, but I think they'll lose 3-1. Man City's just going to be too strong. I am going to shout out, by the way, for the Champions League, Lois Openda at Red Bull Leipzig, or RB Leipzig. I guess it's not Red Bull. RB Leipzig, absolute baller, that guy.
Oh, absolutely. 2 goals in a 20-minute span in the first half. Outstanding.
Cooking a country.
He was carving up that defense of Man City, which time and time again, sure, their offense is great, but the defense has been just as solid, not allowing up goals.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, the 3 different goal scorers, Haaland, Foden, and Alvarez get it done, but not to be expected. They are such a good team and have so much depth. You bring off Jack Grealish, you bring on Jeremy Doku.
Yeah, it's not even fair.
Bring off Ruben Diaz, bring on Ake. Julian Alvarez replaces Kyle Walker. We can never talk enough about how deep City is, and this is what benefits them. I think we'll see that benefit against Tottenham. I am with you. I do think Man City wins. I think they do get it done 3-1. I do think Haaland will have at least 1 goal. Someone on Tottenham will get a goal. They won't be shut out, but it's a big week for Man City because they play Tottenham and then they play Aston Villa right after. So this could be one of those weeks where we see a gap open up between Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, and then the other teams fighting of 4, 5, 6 of Tottenham, Villa, and Man United.
Hey, if City doesn't pick up 6 points, though, they could be in a peculiar spot. Because when you look at Arsenal plays, they play Wolves at home, they play on the road. That ain't bad. No. So they could be in a precarious situation, but I don't think they'll end up in that situation. I think they'll honestly get 6 from 2 games. So.
And even Liverpool, they're playing home to Fulham on Sunday, and then on Wednesday they're away to Sheffield United.
Yeah, so both Arsenal and Liverpool can pick up 6 points.
Well, that's the thing. These are all 6-pointers, especially Villa and the Tottenham ones, because Villa play Bournemouth, and then Tottenham play West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
I could see both of them dropping maybe a point there. Maybe not against Bournemouth for Villa because that one's at home.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's away. That'll be the big interesting thing then. Villa at home hasn't lost in years, it seems like.
Dude, ever.
And they're home to Man City.
Yeah.
Something's got to give there, you would think. But
imagine the scenes, Villa beating them. If they beat them at home, they are actually legit.
Yeah.
They are actually legit. I'm still not fully convinced yet, but if they beat City at home, they are legit. Not just fighting for Europe, but fighting for the title.
Yeah. And we'll find out because back-to-back matches for Villa. Sure, they have Bournemouth, but then it's home to Man City and home to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Do you think, I know we're going a little bit ahead, but do you think there's any chance in hell Villa beats both City and Arsenal?
Nah.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think the best they could do, and this would be crazy, is 4 points.
Agreed.
But I just don't. And it would realistically come with a tie against City and them beating Arsenal. But I just don't see them winning both.
No, I don't either. It's going to be very tough for Aston Villa, but another match that's kind of noteworthy, at least of this first half of the weekend. Newcastle taking on Man United. What do you expect out of this one? Because Newcastle had a big win in the Premier League last week. Very unfortunate not to get a win in Paris in the Champions League. Don't know where you stand on that. I didn't necessarily think that was a handball. VAR said otherwise. Mbappe scored, drew there, while Man U blew it in the Champions League as well. So who do you have here? Why? What do you think's the difference maker?
I think you got to go realistically. I'm like still thinking about this as we talk, but I think realistically Newcastle because they're at home. But Man U's looked good in the league recently. So like you want to maybe back them a little bit, but I think Newcastle's too well coached. Man U looks terrible defensively. And when you're going up against the likes of Isak, Gordon, who has been a revelation this year, he has been so good. Gordon, you still have Almiron. You got all these other guys. I don't think the defense will deal with it that well. Whereas I think Newcastle's defense can deal with Man U's attack fairly easily. So I think Newcastle will win. I think it'll be 2-0. I don't think Man U scores. And I think Newcastle gets the one goal in the second half. And then you get that fan momentum and they go and get the second one towards the end, clinch the winner.
I agree. Looking back at it, it's been just, as of now, just under a month. When this episode comes out on Friday, December 1st, it'll have been exactly a month since the last time these two played in the EFL Cup. And Newcastle won that at Old Trafford 3-0. I'm expecting something similar. I do think Newcastle has the keys and the skills and the players in the right positions to break through Man United. I think it'll be a third straight shutout for the Magpies. I'm doing the same one you said, 2-0 to Newcastle. But it's going to be an interesting one. I'm not 100% convinced, but I do think Newcastle is the better team. And definitely one I will be up and watching, considering it's 2 p.m. Central Time. Yeah. That seems very late. A 3 Eastern Time kickoff on a Saturday?
Yeah, what time would that be? Let's think about British time here.
So 3 would be 5 hours. So it would be an 8 o'clock kickoff.
Which, I mean, that feels very unusual for Premier League games. But, I mean, think about American sports. That's not out of the norm at all.
No. It's their equivalent of Pac-12 After Dark.
Yeah, more or less. God, I'm going to miss that.
Oh, I am also. It's going to be tragic when it all comes to an end on Friday.
Ooh, I know.
Washington.
At least that game's going to be good.
Yeah, should be spicy. 9.5.
I know, that's crazy.
But back to a different type of football. We can do some maybe college football, just random picks at the end because them Hawkeyes about to get a 3-0 win over Michigan.
No, they're going to find a way to win 0 to negative points.
You guys, I guess while we're on this rant, I was on one of the sports betting apps looking around, and there were odds for Iowa to score in the first half. Their over-under was 0.5 point.
Yeah.
Over-under 0.5 point in the first and the second half.
I'll take the over. I mean,
I feel like it's virtually impossible to not score at least like 3 points in a half.
Did you see them versus Penn State?
They got a point.
35-0. It's possible.
Maybe it isn't that crazy.
Yeah. I think that's why those are what the odds are, because the one good team they played, I mean, absolutely shelled them, like not even close. And that was when McNamara was still starting at QB. And now we have Deacon Hill, who's probably the worst quarterback I've ever seen don a Division I major power conference football helmet in my life. He's actually atrocious. The fact that I was winning games is beyond me. Nebraska, man, I don't know if you watched that. That was maybe
that was so ugly. 5 missed field goals total, some blocked, some missed. But some other teams are having struggle kicking the ball as of late. Sheffield United and Burnley. Big relegation battle on Saturday. Will kind of swing us back over to this realm of it. God, I don't know what to expect in this one. This might be the worst match we've had this season.
Well, that's the beauty of these relegation battles. You just don't know what's going to happen. So that kind of makes it a must-watch, like, in itself. Because when you look at them playing any other team, you're like, all right, so here's what's going to happen. They get shelled. They go home with 0 points. Rinse, wash, repeat next week. But when you play in these kinds of games, anything can happen because both teams are like, wow, we're both absolutely shite. We both get points. Like, let's go do this. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen either. Like, in terms of predictions, because Burnley is so bad, but so is Sheffield United. You
Yeah.
know, they're both terrible defensively. They both leak goals, and they both can't score to save their lives. So when you look at this, the only possible answer is that one team wins with either the craziest goal you've ever seen in terms of how nice it is, like absurdly nice.
It's going to be a Garnacho-esque goal,
Yes,
something absurd.
someone hits a 40-yard screamer, or the ball bounces around, a toe goes in, it deflects off of probably Austin Trusty's kneecap, and then finds the back of the net. That's probably what's going to happen. One of the two, and one team wins 1-0. It's going to be must-watch TV, though. If you love absolute massacring yourself by watching terrible soccer, A, watch college soccer, or B, watch relegation battles.
That is very true. From experience, relegation battles are where it's the most nervy as well from a fan standpoint. So it's never fun to watch, but entertaining as a neutral to see. My concern is like, God, Burnley are bad.
Oh, they're so bad.
They've lost 7 in a row across all competitions. Their last win will be 1 day shy of 2 months ago. They're playing December 2nd. Their last win was October 3rd when they barely beat Luton 2-1.
Which Luton can actually pick up results, which is absurd. But
yeah, that was that crazy one where Luton scored the 84th to equalize, and then Burnley scored a minute later. So it was kind of like one of those miracle results. But
I will shout out on Burnley. I love watching Koleosho play.
Okay.
The young American Italian. He is good. He's the one who drew the pen in their game against West Ham. He just looks so lively. Like, he's going to get a move after this. Apart from him, though, their attack looks so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Miserable to watch, actually. And I thought defensively they'd be better because of who their manager is, but
I'm still standing high and wide about my bold prediction from our Vendetta Sports Premier League preseason pick. Vincent Kompany is going to sub himself into the game at some point and try and save this defense that's given up 32 goals. The only team that's given up more goals than Burnley is going to be the team lined up across the pitch from them on Saturday in Sheffield United. 34 goals conceded by Sheffield. It's this is another reason I think Everton's okay. Everton's goal difference is -6. Burnley -22. Sheffield -23. Luton and Bournemouth -11 and -14 respectively. It's not pretty.
no.
And I think it could get very bad this upcoming week for all the relegation sides. Looking at the midweek fixtures, I just want to go through some of those and tell me if you see any of these relegation sides picking up points. We have Wolves hosting Burnley. I think Wolves are better than Burnley. I think Burnley continues to lose.
Agreed.
Luton home to Arsenal. I think you expect the same thing.
Yeah.
Everton away to Newcastle. And Sheffield away to Liverpool.
The only one that I could see happening is Everton.
Yeah.
The only one I could see I don't think it'll happen. The only one I could see happening at all is that game.
That one, I would say potentially Bournemouth beating Palace, but even then, like,
I really don't feel that though.
I don't. The Everton one seems like the most.
Yeah.
Well, considering they are at home, well, they haven't been good this season. I'll note that, but it's been kind of their saving grace the last few years. Otherwise, I mean, missed out on the projection. What's your prediction for Burnley Sheffield? Do you have a score when you said 1-0? Is that
I'm going 1-0 Burnley?
1-0 Burnley.
Koleosho.
I'll go 5-4.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. This is going to be honestly, I'm taking a 0-0 draw or a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be one of those bad ones. God, the scenes if it's a 5-4 result and it's like a 93rd minute winner. The scenes, best game of the season in the relegation battle. Heard it here first.
Prediction.
But otherwise, looking at some of the other matches in this weekend at least, I'll run through some of those quickly. Arsenal Wolves. What's your prediction?
Arsenal wins. Not as easy as it looks though. Wang Hee-chan's a baller, but I think Arsenal does win.
I agree. I'm taking Arsenal 2-1. I do think Wolves strike first, and then Arsenal kind of steps it up after a 6-0 thrashing of lawns this weekend.
Mhm.
Week. So take that. Brentford, Luton. I'm leaning Brentford only because Luton's kind of that bad, but
But dude, Luton's been picking up results.
they have been finding results here and there. They did beat Crystal Palace, drew
Mhm.
with Liverpool, drew with Forest recently. But it seems like it's in every other match. They either get a point and then lose, get a point, lose, get a point. If the pattern continues, they're losing this week. And I
Yeah,
think they do. Taking 1-0 Brentford.
that's nice. I'm going 2 now.
Okay. Did that one. Forest and Everton.
I'm
What a
going
dumpster
Everton.
fire as well.
I'm going Everton.
Everton. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Everton because I mean they're better than Forest minus that 10-point deduction.
Yeah.
So I'll take Everton. 2-1 is my prediction.
Yeah, Forest back line defense in general does not look very good, you know. So I think they lose. Everton able to get a couple past them.
Yeah, kind of touched very, very briefly on this. Bournemouth, Aston Villa. Are you taking Aston Villa to continue their march towards the top four?
Yeah, for sure.
As am I. Chelsea, Brighton. This one's a little more interesting than you would expect because Brighton's still right there, eighth place, I want to say.
Yeah.
Chelsea 10th. There's a whole 6 points in between them. So this is a big swinger for maybe either of these teams making a push, an early season push towards a European spot.
hmm Beautiful thing about Chelsea is you never know what you're going to get.
No.
So this could be completely wrong, but I'm going to say they win.
Okay.
I think they win and they look good doing it. I just have that feeling that after what happened last week, it's only natural that they would ball out this week just to do it again, play like crap in the midweek game. But I think over the weekend, they're going to win.
Yeah, I think their eyes are actually going to be on that midweek game where they are playing Man United. We'll touch on that in a second here, but I think Brighton gets it done. They've won back-to-back, one big win in Athens and then this Thursday, so nice one there for them. I think they get it done. I do think it's kind of one of those 3-2 score lines, but I have Brighton winning that one. Liverpool, Fulham. I have Liverpool running rampant over Fulham. I think it'll be 3 or 4-1 or nil even.
Yeah, I agree.
And the last one to talk on that we haven't mentioned, West Ham and Crystal Palace. These teams both just seem so irrelevant this season.
Yeah, because they're neither good nor bad. They're just sitting in the middle, 9th and 11th, literally dead center. The median, the mean between the two of them equals 10. So, yeah, I mean, I don't. I'll go West Ham. I feel like they're a slightly better team, but Palace, their attack ain't bad. So you never know.
Not at all. And anything can happen in a London derby.
Mm.
I am also backing West Ham. I think home field advantage will be very beneficial and be the difference maker. Looking at some of these midweek matches, obviously we'll start with the Man United and Chelsea one. What are you expecting in this one? Do you think Chelsea gets it done at Old Trafford, or does Man U continue their kind of Premier League hot streak?
You got to go Man U, I think. And like I said earlier, it just seems right that Chelsea plays well over the weekend. That's what I predicted to happen, and then goes and lays an absolute egg. So I think that'll happen. Man U's at home. They've been pretty good at home. I think they'll win. I could see this being an absolutely terrible game, though, with an Onana howler and then Robert Sanchez kicking the ball off his back of his defender's head going in kind of deal.
Yeah.
Where it's like that happens. But I do think Man U ultimately will edge out here, get the 3 points because they're at home. I think they're a better team across the board still.
Okay.
So I think they'll get it done. Again, could be completely wrong because it's Chelsea. So you never know. But
yeah,
that's what I think will happen.
You never know how this Chelsea side's going to turn up. It's honestly same thing with Man U, and I think that's what makes picking this one for me a little difficult. Last time the two played was in May. Man U won 4-1 at home. But before that, it had been 5 consecutive draws. And some of those were the most boring matches I think I've ever watched in the Premier League in the last 3 years. I'm thinking it's going to be another one of those dull matches where neither team really creates much. I have it finishing 0-0, maybe even 1-1, but I do think it ends in a draw. I think this is one of the matches that I'm going to miss out on because I'd much rather be watching at the same time Aston Villa and Man City, which
Mm.
I think that's going to be a spicy one. We did talk a bit on that earlier. But Villa and Chelsea, fourth place versus second place. This is another big test for Aston Villa at home. You said earlier you think Man City gets it done. What is your score prediction?
I think,
Or do you think Aston Villa gets it done?
no, City gets it done 2-1. I think that Villa will get a goal. I think they honestly take the lead, but City's just they've been there before. They have way too much experience in tough situations like this. And they're definitely looking at the fixture list like, guys, we got to pick up results here because look at who Liverpool and Arsenal are playing right now. So we need to go and get it done. So I think they're going to have that extra motivation knowing that they have to do it. Because I feel like the only time City doesn't perform is when they're kind of not necessarily super, like, like they don't care, but just a little bit of complacent.
Yeah.
Little bit of complacency coming in. I don't think this will be the case because they'll look around and see what's going on in the rest of the league. So I think they'll show up and they'll get the win. But I do think Villa will have the lead at a certain point. I think Watkins has looked really good. And you have other goal scoring options like Diaby, possibly Leon Bailey. Tielemans finally able to do some stuff. He's finally getting some minutes. So they've got the ability to score, and I think they do score. But I think City's just too good, and all it takes is one chance for Erling Haaland, and it's like that's all it takes. So.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the difference is that kind of clinical finishing of Haaland or Foden or Alvarez. I'm going the same result you said, 2-1 to Man City. But I think it's going to be one of those matches that it's going to be 1-1. I agree. Villa scores first. Man City gets an equalizer before the half. Neither team can kind of find a way into the back of the net until I'm saying within the 80th minute onward is when Man City's going to get the winner. I wouldn't be surprised if Villa starts pushing it and they get a third, but
yeah,
I do have Man City winning in a very, very close and exciting one. Much more so than that Man U Chelsea match. Otherwise, not a whole lot of other really exciting matches in the midweek ties. Go through all these, just give some quick predictions. If you want to talk more on any of them, feel free. Tuesday, Wolves Burnley. I think I'm going Wolves on that one. Luton Arsenal, another one.
Gotta be Arsenal.
Brighton Brentford.
Gotta go Brighton.
Yeah, I'm thinking Brighton. I just feel like this is one of those ones that has Brentford written over it. I think there's going to be one of these random ones that teams drop every once in a while. I feel like Brentford have a much more favorable midweek or weekend match than Brighton. I think that'll take a little bit of a toll, and I'm gonna go Brentford to win, but I don't feel good saying it.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of thinking that too because I was like, I'm going Brighton, but this just feels like a game that Brentford can very easily not just get a result but win.
Yeah, it feels like one of those kind of trap games for Brighton. Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, the battle of
mid
teams at best.
Yeah, Palace.
Yeah, I think we both said West Ham wins. I think Palace needs to get a win here, and I think they do.
Yeah.
We'd see a draw in this one, but I'm leaning towards a Palace win.
Agreed.
Fulham and Nottingham Forest.
This one's interesting. I'm going to go Fulham.
Okay.
I think Forest is kind of a shit show right now. So I'm going to go Fulham. I'm going to back him. Fulham hasn't been good, but they've been very consistent with how they've been not good. Whereas I don't know. I guess Forest has been the same way. I just feel like Forest is worse, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there is only 2 points separating these two. They are back-to-back in the table of 14th and 15th with Fulham with a slight edge, but I think this could be an ugly one.
Yeah.
In terms of just the quality of play. I can see Fulham getting the win, and I do think they do, but don't get me wrong, Forest will put up a fight.
They'll score.
Yeah, I just think it'll be this could be one of those like 3-2 wins for Fulham.
Yeah, good.
Sheffield United, Liverpool. We kind of mentioned Liverpool's going to beat the brakes off of them there. We did those. Everton, Newcastle on Thursday, and Tottenham, West Ham.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on? Let's go Everton, Newcastle first.
You got to go Newcastle, I feel like.
Sense a butt coming.
Yeah, but I have a feeling about this game. I feel like Everton, they needed that first game back after the point deduction to kind of have things not go their way, get some unlucky bounce. They could have scored in that game, by the way. Like,
Oh,
they had a fair amount of chances. So Nana actually had a very, very good game. So they got that out of the way, and I think that now as they move forward, they're going to play. Who are they going to play? Forest on the weekend. I think they win that game, and then at home against Newcastle. And this feels like the kind of game that Newcastle might just drop. Now I'm still going to go Newcastle to win. I feel like you have to.
oh yeah.
They're too good offensively and defensively, and when they show up, they beat anyone they want to in the league. But this just feels like it could be a trap game. So I'm gonna go Newcastle wins 2-0. I could very easily see Everton not just picking up a point, but getting all 3 points in this game, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say I do agree with you. I do think they managed to get it done.
Yeah.
But this is one of those that it almost seems like I guess he did play against Everton last season because Anthony Gordon was that January window transfer. But I'm expecting a big game for Anthony Gordon. Anytime you play your former club, doesn't matter if it's the first time or second time or whatever, you want to win.
Yeah.
And you want to do something and impact. I know Leeds played Swansea this weekend. 2 former Swansea players scored. See it all the time in these kind of levels, but I think Anthony Gordon has himself a game, and Newcastle win like 3-1, 4-1 maybe even.
Yeah, I could see that.
And lastly but not least, Tottenham and West Ham. What happens in this edition of this London derby?
You know, with how Tottenham's playing right now, it's kind of hard to just say they're going to win, but I think they're going to win. They're at home. Granted, they've been losing games at home, but they're at home against a West Ham side who is not as good as Aston Villa. They're not able to do as much on the attack. West Ham is very much a defensively minded team that can score on counterattacks, set pieces, and just kind of craziness.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the feeling that they just have. It's not like Villa where they're a constant attacking threat now because when you look at the players they have, like Watkins, Diaby, guys like that, they can score at any moment. They can create at any moment. West Ham just doesn't have that same feel. Obviously, Kudu's very good player. He's able to do some bits. They've got some other guys who can obviously create for them, but they just don't have that same kind of bite to them. So I don't think they're going to be able to punish Tottenham. Tottenham should have some players back maybe at that point, get a little bit of normalcy back. Yeah, I think they win. Even if they don't have all the guys back that they want, obviously Van de Ven's not going to be there, Madison's not going to be there. But if they have everyone back, or everyone back that they can have back at that point, I think they're going to get things going again. And again, I don't think they've been terrible recently. I feel like they've been more unlucky than anything. Yes, you need to pick up the points, but I still don't think this is a sign that they're in serious trouble, and I think they'll get this done.
Yeah, I do too. I think the big issue is I think this is going to be a desperation match for Tottenham to an extent. I do think they lose to Man City on the weekend. And I think they really need to get a result. And I think this West Ham one is the way they do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't exactly have a score because I'm not certain on that. I'll go with the safe bet and say 2-1 Tottenham because I do think that defense will leak in a goal, but Romero should be back by then.
Yeah.
So that'll help a bit, but it's going to be an interesting one. And I'm just excited, Jackson. We have so much football coming up this week.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Inc. Premier League action. We've talked a bit of college football, got some more NFL coming up. What a wonderful time of the year.
Great time of the year. And college basketball, alive and well. Bradley just lost his first game last night, 6-1 now. Kind of sad. Duke also lost last night, so it was a rough night to be.
Arkansas, that was
what a game, though.
Yeah. I mean, then we still have all these other leagues. We have the mighty La Liga, Serie A's got some exciting matches this weekend. The Bundesliga
is interesting.
Bundesliga is very interesting, but Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, spicy Napoli, Inter.
Girona is still doing well in the Liga.
Girona is still doing well. Bundesliga leading Bayern Leverkusen is hosting Borussia Dortmund.
Mm-hmm.
God, and then we have this week Champions League next following week. What a time.
What
What
a
a time in sports. I love everything about it. Jackson, any final thoughts, words before we wrap this one up?
wow, this is a great way to kick off the holiday season. A whole lot of footy.
A whole lot of footy. Only thing we're missing is Aussie rules footy, but hey, we'll mention that on the show one day. Then we'll cover all three footballs.
Dude, that's a Fox Sports 2 at 2 a.m. kind of game.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is.
Love me watching that. When I was on the Pacific time zone,
Mhm.
like 1 in the morning, and I'm like, hey, we're still up. What do we want to watch? Aussie rules.
Aussie Rules Football, Fox Sports 2. Love that broadcast.
Such a good time. But Jackson, pleasure as always. Thank you guys, the viewers, for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel so you stay in touch with all of our other coverage. Not only It's Called Football, but NBA, NHL, NFL, college sports, everything you could look for. And we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the weekend. A lot of footy.